and welcome to Innovate Pasadena Presents, where we sit down with some of our community's creators and forward thinkers to discuss Pasadena's innovation ecosystem. I'm your host, Beth Kuchar, chairperson of Innovate Pasadena, and today I am joined by two guests, John Smith, president and founder of Neighbors Empowering Youth, and Chris Salzbach, community outreach mentor at Neighbors Empowering Youth. Thank you both for joining us, John, Chris.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I bet most Pasadena residents have no idea that there's an organization right in our backyards which provides access to computer equipment and STEAM education to underserved young adults in Pasadena and Altadena, but they're about to learn about it. And I was wondering, John, if we could start off by maybe having you tell us what Neighbors Empowering Youth is all about.
Yes, I'd love to. Neighbors Empowering Youth was really founded in my home, in my garage. I was complaining to my mother about how these young people don't have any drive, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? And she said, okay, well, what are you gonna do? What do you mean? She said, well, if you're gonna complain about it, you need to provide some type of remedy to it. I said, but I don't know what to do. She said, well, just introduce them to what you do. I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was telling me about how his nephew had committed suicide. And no one in the family knew anything about this, didn't even know that the person was depressed or what was going on. And so he said, maybe we could do something together where we could not only mentor these young people, but be a voice. Because sometimes kids will tell their friends things that they won't tell their parents. And we figured, okay, let's try and show them a skill, and at the same time, be able to point them towards resources if they're having some problems in their home. And so we kicked that around for a while, and nothing was happening. I was working for FEMA, and I was going to all these different communities, helping people after their worst nightmare had happened. And I said, I need to be doing something at home. So I went down and I was gonna volunteer at Harambe. And so, I went back to work and I told everyone I'm quitting. I'm gonna go work at this nonprofit. And when I came back, they had a cake ready for me. And they told me, they said, hey, my boss came and said, hey, I need to speak with you. And she said, well, what can I do to get you to stay? I said, well, if you give me more money, I'll stay. And she said, done. And I said, oh, I didn't think it would be that easy. But what I found is that Harambe had a great program where they were working with young people and connecting with the school and parents. So I took that concept and said, okay, we've got to get something that kids like to do that would be useful for their parents, and we could get the community involved in. We said, okay, let's give them some computers. So another friend of mine was an IT person, and he was working at a large law firm in LA, and they were recycling out their computers. And I said, well, can we get them? So we ended up with like 150 computers. But they were all in different stages of repair or repair. And so we started repairing these computers, and I reached out to the school district and I said, I'd like to get these computers. And it was like, no one knew how to do that until I went to Rose City. I talked with the principal there, and he told me that, hey, if you can get these kids to be incentivized enough to want to come back to regular schools, I'm all for it. So I said, well, let's start off with just 10 students and see how we do it. So we did 4-day class with those students, and on the weekend, we invited their parents to come and learn what they had been learning, and to learn how to operate the computers as well. And um, somehow Star News ran the story, and ABC got that, and they came to our training session that we were doing up at Elliott Middle School, and they filmed everything, and that's how we got started. Then we started getting a lot of more than we could really handle. So we said we need to train these young people how to repair the computers so that we can not only give them away, but we could provide some tech support to nonprofits, to parents, to these students. And it's a great career choice for some of these young people. And the young people jumped right on it because they saw an opportunity to be able to make some money on the weekend. You know, do a couple of repairs and there's $50, $100, and they started doing that. We joined a partnership with the Flint Ridge Foundation at that time before it became the Flint Ridge Center, and we started Mustangs on the Move at the campus of John Muir High School. And there was 19 nonprofits serving the students on the campus. At that time, the school was being considered to be closed. So all us nonprofits came together and said, okay, we can do some enrichment programs to keep these young people engaged, and maybe we can save the school. Well, what happened was nonprofits just turned out like you wouldn't believe. And the students gravitated to all these programs. And I looked and said, well, how can we connect JPL with these students? A lot of students are looking at how can they go to work for McDonald's or some of the fast food places. And I said, well, how about let's try and connect them with JPL. At that time, they had an internship program for not just college students, but high school students as well. So I went to JPL. We had the Mars rover yard there, and I was trying to connect to that. And that's when I found out about FIRST Robotics. FIRST stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. It was founded by a gentleman called Dean Kamen. And Dean Kamen is the inventor of the Segway, that little tool you see people driving around on. And so I met Dave Brenza, who had a robotics team, Team 980, which was over in Glendale, I believe, at the time. And he said, I'll get you mentors from JPL, and we'll get you started. And I asked him, I said, well, how much is this going to cost me? He said, oh, it's about 20 grand. I said, I have no 20,000. He said, we're going to give it to you, And I said, oh, okay, great, I'm in. And that's how we got started. The young people that were in our first group were like the Breakfast Club. They were all the kids that were having problems on the campus, and the teachers didn't know what to do. And they said, okay, let's just give them this to Mr. Smith. That way they'll be somewhere and they won't get it.
And keep them out of trouble. How did that change those kids? Did you then track their progress?
Yes. Well, they wanted to prove to their teachers, the faculty, and the community that they could do this. No one thought that they would have, part of the requirement is they have about 2.5 months to design, build, and be prepared to compete against all these teams from all over the United States and around the world. And they knew nothing about design or engineering or mechanical, but they had this spirit that said, we can do this if someone would just show us how. So we brought in mentors from JPL, and the students said, okay, well, we probably can't build the best robot, but what we'll do, that year, the object was to shoot this big I mean, a big ball over this like 7-foot rail. And one of the kids was on the basketball team. And all the robots, the other robots were grabbing it with a hand and, manipulating and putting it over the rail. And this young man came and said, "Hey, don't we get the same points if we just shoot it?" And we said, "Oh, what a concept." So we designed our robot to be like a catapult. And the kids were so excited. They wanted a mascot, they wanted uniforms, all these things. And I knew we had to come on the scene just as if we had been around for years. And we ended up winning the second highest award for a rookie team. We won the Rookie Inspiration Award. And none of the students even knew that we were going to get an award. And they're sitting up in the stands, and they started describing the team. And the kids, you could see them, they recognized they were talking about them. And they just lost their mind because they had to go onto the field from this huge arena and receive their trophies. And that's how we got started doing Team 2404. And we've been going since 2008. We have kids from all the schools in PUSD, to include charter schools. We've also opened it up to middle school. We even have a few young people that are from elementaries. We tell them they can be on the team, but they can't compete because there's some strict rules. There's also $80 million worth of scholarships for just being on a first team. So that gets the parents excited. We just need to figure out a way to get more mentors and more parent involvement so that we can get more of our kids plugged into those scholarship opportunities.
And that's interesting that you mention parent involvement, especially because I noticed something on your website where you do say that neighbors empowering youth and neighbors empowering you. So tell me about the you part and getting parents involved. How does that affect the kids that are part of this program?
Well, one of the things that has been noted in countless surveys is that when parents are involved in their child's education, not just helping them with their homework, but actually going to PTA meetings, being involved with them if they're involved in sports, the child's academic progress goes up. But how do we get parents involved when it comes to technology? A lot of parents that come from low-income households don't have technology. The child has a Chromebook that's provided by the school, but they can't help them at home. And some of the parents need resources to be able to reach out and find what's available in the community for them. So when we get our students involved with their parents, it empowers their parents as well, because they start finding out about different resources that are within the community that can help them as far as job searches, job placement, resources if they're having, say, food insecurities or whatever. All those things in Pasadena are available, but a lot of families do not have access to computers. So we approach our program and we look at it as 4 parts. One, provides the technology that the families need. And how we do that is we reach out to APL, Caltech, Lockheed Martin, all these tech companies and say, hey, give us your out-of-service equipment. We'll refurbish it, put the most current software on it, and train the parents and the students how to use it. So that's one leg of it. The second part is they've got to have training on how to use it and how to maintain it. Because if you don't use the anti-software, then antivirus software, then we're going to have problems. If you don't do the updates, you're going to have problems. If your child is on sites they shouldn't be going to, the parents need to know how to go and look at their history and see what they're doing. It's not spying on them, it's just making sure they are safe. So we teach the parents how to do that. And then the third part is access. Most parents have to make a decision if they're going to have the internet or if they're going to put food on the table. So we try and point them towards low cost or no cost internet access. And there's companies out there that are doing so. And under the new infrastructure bill, there's a huge amount of money that's been set aside for broadband access. So we want to position Neighbors Empowering Youth to be able to reach out to those internet access providers and offer low or no cost internet for these families. And then the final piece is tech support. They've got to have a place where they can take and repair it or upgrade it and do things. So we have a 4-pronged approach to this. And we want our students to be involved in it. So one of the programs that we're trying to jumpstart, COVID really devastated us and like a lot of companies. But one of the things we want to do is we want to move into getting our students trained so that they can become the instructors for cybersecurity, for how to use Microsoft 360 and such. So our program is designed to not only train them, but hopefully to employ them or to point them towards employment within the community.
That's awesome. And definitely, you really stress the empowering by taking kids, making sure that their families have access as well, and teaching them how to actually, maintain the equipment, repair the equipment down the road, and help other people and just pass it on. So you've been around since, when did you first start? 2000, I think. Is that correct?
We started in 1998. We got our charter in 2000. We've been around for almost 22 years now. Wow, yeah, 22 years.
Yeah, quite a long time. So, it sounds like you've really grown and changed quite a bit and figured out how to structure your program, to keep bringing up, people from the community. How have you grown in the past 20 years? What kinds of changes have you seen for the better?
Well, one of the things we tried to, and we were really hoping that would, gain some traction. We established another satellite office on Lincoln, just like a block and a half up from John Muir High School. So we put a makerspace there where they would come and learn, and we would connect with the school and with the teachers and everything. Superintendent was there, the director of curriculum came through. It just did not gain the traction that we thought, and then COVID really took that off the table for us for a while. One of the things that we really want to be able to do is get the technology equipment turned back on. If we can get corporations to, now that everyone's going back to work in the office, a lot of that equipment they were using at home is going to have to be upgraded. So give it to us. If we can get the message out to these corporations and businesses and families that if you have old computers, give it to us, we can kickstart our program back into high gear, bring more students in, and point them towards STEM careers. Because science, technology, engineering, and math is the key. So if we can get them in where they can start to look at different, IT careers, or just, computer science careers. We've done our job. And here in Pasadena, when we're sitting in the shadows of JPL and Caltech, our youth should be inspired to look in those directions. We have a great school at PCC, so we want to connect all these resources and point those to our young people so they know that they too can go to the moon or Mars or wherever.
And speaking of PCC, which is a great segue over to Chris, I know Chris has been a student at PCC in one of their computer programs and is also now a community outreach mentor with Neighbors Empowering Youth. And Chris, I just wanted to ask you quickly, I know you've been volunteering with the organization for many years now. How did you get involved and what's your role with community outreach now?
So it's an interesting story about how I got started. A friend of my mom was asking me one day, "What are you doing over the summer?" And I said, I was doing nothing. And she said, "I know of a program. You're going to get into this. I'm not going to take no for an answer. You're going to join this program." And so she pointed me in the way of Neighbors Empowering Youth. In the beginning, I didn't seem interested, but after I saw all the cool technology there, I was hooked. And I joined the robotics team as a student in 2015. And then when I graduated in 2017, the last year of me competing as a student, John was asking me as a student, asking me to come back as a mentor. He said, "Would you like to come back as a mentor next year?" And I said, "I'd think about it," and I ended up saying yes. So since, I believe, 2017, I've been on as a mentor. And then earlier this year during the pandemic, I signed on. I joined NAE officially as their community outreach coordinator. So as well as volunteering and mentoring the robotics team, I'm now also a direct connection with NAM, their community outreach coordinator. So anything you see posted on their social media or anything you see in the community, I've had a direct impact working with them to get that out there. And we've really been trying to do programs within the pandemic. Over the pandemic, we did homeless care kits for the community, something that I got together with Grocery Outlet Altadena, and then we made some homeless care kits in coordination with some of our robotics students, and we donated them to Pasadena, to a Pasadena Christian church, and then the Friends Indeed in Pasadena. And then over the summer, over the summer, we did a computer class for seniors where we gave seniors free Chromebooks and we taught them how to use Chromebooks and how to sign up for a Zoom account, and we set all of that up. That was one of the programs that I set up in the community, and we did that very successfully. I believe we got 15 Chromebooks to 15 seniors, and that was with coordinating and getting the message out to the Pasadena Senior Center. Because that's one of the things that I noticed is during the pandemic, a lot of these people didn't have access to technology and to computers because senior centers were closed. And so what we did is we gave them a Chromebook laptop. We taught them how to use it. We gave them a mouse and we showed them this is how to sign up for Zoom. This is how to check your email. This is how to create a Google account. And that was sort of a very big thing we did during the pandemic. We did it as safely as possible. And I think that was one of the best feelings, was giving back to the community, to a group that gets overlooked a lot of the time. Most people don't think about seniors and technology, but that's a key issue that happened during the pandemic because no one had access to technology because libraries were closed and senior centers were closed.
And it's really important. I think not a lot of people realize just how cut off some other folks were during the pandemic. So that's an amazing program. Sounds like it was successful. I also wanted to talk to you both to get a little more info about the First Robotics Team 2404, which was started last month, this month. So I'm just curious what we can expect this year for the robotics team.
Well, I'm going to let Chris talk about that because he's on the ground with the mentors. The recruitment portion of this year has been great. We've gotten a lot of students from a lot of different schools. So, Chris, tell them about some of the cool stuff that we're doing up there right
So what I will start with is at the start of our season, we came in with no mentors, and within a week of me doing a little bit of outreach within the community, I was able to get 2 mentors. We have one who's a robotics engineer at JPL, and then we have another mentor that's a robotics PhD student, gained a PhD student over at Caltech. And then starting soon, we're trying to coordinate with him. His schedule hasn't been too well, but we've got someone from another engineering company. I forgot the name of it, but it's a very big engineering company, Northrop Grumman, that's the name. So we have a mentor from there that's going to be working with our students coming within next couple of days. And one of the things that we're working on right now is our first robotics competition robot. So right now our students are building a robot to compete in the latest competition, which is Rapid React, sponsored by the Boeing Corporation. And so that's been our big plan, is we've been getting the robot together, and we're teaching the students how to use different tools, soldering, wiring, and how to use a lot of the equipment that that sometimes they don't have access to in school, because a lot of schools don't have the technology access that we have as a robotics team. And some of these students can't even afford programs like this. So we're giving them access to JPL mentors and Caltech mentors that are directly going to impact the future of their employment in the future and directly impact them altogether.
That's amazing. I look forward to hearing what your team accomplishes. And before we wrap up, because we're running a little short on time here, I want to know, John, tell us how the Pasadena community can support Neighbors Empowering Youth. What can folks do to help you out or to contribute in some way?
now. So if they have time and they want to volunteer their time to come and talk with students, we could always use mentors. We are in desperate need of equipment. So if they have contacts with any of the corporations that are going to be upgrading their equipment, they can do a tax write-off to us. We would love to come get it. We have plenty of ways to get it and refurbish it. If they're worried about their data, they can remove the hard drives, or if they can't wipe them clear, we just need the systems themselves. And always, they can go on our site and hit the donation button, and money is always good. So we would love your equipment or monetary donations. They are, as always, with a 501c3, they are tax deductible contributions.
Excellent. And of course, over at Innovate Pasadena, we'll help you get the word out and try to get those donations going. John, I thank you so much for your time today, taking time out. I know you're deployed right now, so thank you for talking with us. Founder of Neighbors Empowering Youth, Chris, thank you as well for telling us all about First Robotics Team. And thank you to our audience for joining us. This has been Innovate Pasadena Presents. Stay innovative.